my story. To set the context, it starts my freshman year of college. Yeah, I was living in the dorms, which conveniently is, it was a co-ed transfer dorm, mostly because I turned in my application like my period loves to arrive super late. So here I was in this transfer dorm, and I'm super excited to be on my own. And another bit of context, I was raised by a super strict, I'm like, how close am I? Mexican mother. She's like super strict, so she made sure that I was terrified to ever attempt to get birth control on my own in high school. So I totally just relied on condoms, right? So now I found myself 18 in the dorms, which meant I didn't need my mom's permission anymore, and with 2 broken condoms in the span of 2 weeks. Yeah, it happens. So then I was like super ready, I'm excited, I'm gonna like take charge of my reproductive health, I'm gonna like make my first gyno appointment, you know, like get birth control, do something super exciting, like get tested for STIs and pregnancy, pee in a cup on purpose, and, you know, like walk out of there with like a paper bag full of condoms and like lube samples, you know, like all proud, like, hi, I'm Keyko, liberated, independent, sexual woman. Yes, super excited. That's not how it turned out. This wasn't like a super feminist health clinic with like accurate vulva depictions in the lobby, or like the Planned Parenthood that years later I would take my little sister to so she could plan A, B, and C. No, this was my university health clinic, which meant that a doctoral white dude was not impressed or amused. It started off innocently enough, right? I like did the whole like flawlessly peeing in a cup thing, and like I sat in the room waiting for him to come in and ask questions behind his clipboard, and he asked me to describe in detail my sex life for the last couple of weeks, and I was like, okay, dude, so here's the deal. So I've been like sexually, like there's like 3 partners, and I have like a super like condom always rule, but in one instance the condom broke, like cheap condoms, and it happens. In another instance, homeboy was really overconfident or confused about his size situation. So the condom got lost somewhere. But like it's fine, we like totally found it eventually. Later. Way later. Anyway, it's a different story. It's like delivered sack part 2. Yeah. So I'm sitting there and I'm like not shy, not ashamed, like totally candid, super honest. I mean, why would I be like otherwise, right? There's consent, there's like precautions, like my pleasure involved, like I'm just having fun for adults, right? Yeah, except the fun stopped when the doctor asked me if I was okay. I was like, what? And he looked, I think he was trying to look concerned, but he was like more like disapproving, and he was like, have you ever been touched as a child? Yeah, okay, so your reaction was my reaction. I was like, wait, what? He was like, I was kind of like having like a moment where like, you know, like in the movies where it's like wah, 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 and like there's like that high-pitched sound, like something just blew up, and you're like, what is happening? I was like, is that a question on the clipboard? Because it seems awfully intrusive and inappropriate. While I'm searching for the like relevancy of the question, he's like, oh, he took my stunned silence as some sort of confirmation or like his own personal aha moment. Like, oh, I knew it. And he like shook his head or something. He's like, coping badly, are we? And he goes, I suggest that you go across the hall to psychological services. And I'm sure he's still talking, but I can't hear him because I am internally screaming because I had an aha moment of my own. You know why he thought that I'd been touched, that term, as a child? Oh, it's because apparently only broken, abused women would ever, have the sex life I was having? He literally used my sexuality against me. He was like, oh, you must be one of those sad, traumatized women. That explains your behavior. I no longer felt liberated. Instead, I felt righteously angry, ashamed, and judged. I mean, to automatically assume that somebody's sex life is a direct result of childhood molestation is absurd. It's so wrong. I mean, this guy, let's just call him an Olympic medalist in the long jump to conclusions. I'm like, how did we? Okay, that's fine. I mean, I wasn't there for a psych eval. I was there for condoms and maybe birth control and lube samples. I was not expecting this whole thing to just come on me, and I'm like sitting there sort of reeling, and he then concludes the session with, oh, well, you're probably due for a pap smear or something, and don't worry, I'll throw in like a chlamydia and gonorrhea test in for you. And I swear he winked at me like he was doing me a favor. He's like, I got you. Then the nurse comes in and gives me my paper bag of condoms, and I quickly just shoved it in my backpack because I was like, no, nobody needs to know why I was here or what I was doing, because Dr. Old White Dude made sure that I was aware that sexual liberation isn't for women. Or at least he thinks so, and that it wasn't something that I had access to. Honestly, it took a really long time for me to get over the shame of that first visit. This was my first visit to a gynecologist. I completely had blocked it and the subsequent pap smear from my memory. But honestly, now I know that he was wrong. I don't have to explain why I'm having sex. It's nobody's business. I mean, it wasn't the first time, it wasn't the last time that I was gonna receive a passive or not so passive aggressive response from a medical provider. When you are a polyamorous queer woman of color, it seems to boggle the medical community or something. I don't know, and I don't care. I continue to be honest and advocate for my rights. Their job is not to question why I am having sex, but to make sure that I have the resources to do so safely.
Yeah.
And honestly, I really don't need their diagnosis. Thanks, everyone.